Welcome to Pembroke Today. I'm Ed Thorne.
And I'm Sharon McNamara from Boston Connect Real Estate.
And we're here to talk about all good things in Pembroke. And Sharon, you got a laundry list of things there.
I do. Are you ready? This is going to be sort of like a Jeopardy thing for you.
You got it.
Okay, perfect. Well, one of the things when we were just talking about what the show was going to be about, is all of the things that I feel are great about our town. So as you know, I sell a lot of homes in the town of Pembroke, and one of the things that's great about Pembroke is the proximity to the Cape and the proximity to Boston. So those are some of the attributes that I love, but some of the bigger things that I love is just the sense of community. As you know, I grew up in Dorchester, and I know you love that about me, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I grew up in that area, and there was always a sense of community. We did everything, you know, with CYO and with the community in general. I feel that Pembroke has that same sense of community. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, in the 16 years that I've been there, and of course, people don't know, Sharon used to work for us with the Conservation Commission before she went on this successful real estate business. Yeah, that's one of the things that I found, and especially the folks that are in Pembroke and the people that work for the community. A little known fact is that almost every one of our department heads lives in Pembroke. And so that really gives them a sense of ownership, and they really feel like what they do is really a help to the citizens and the community itself.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about it. I mean, I've been there 22 years myself, so we've been there about the same amount of time. So you're sort of like that fixture in town that everybody knows. You do so much. I mean, you got involved with the Bryanville PTO when I asked you to do that, and I hear you're still on that.
Still on there.
My kids are in college, and you're still on the Bryanville PTO. So, but that is really one of the things that I do love about the town. I mean, I've had opportunities many a times in my life, obviously selling real estate, to sell my house, buy another house, move out of town. I always have chosen to stay where I am. I put an addition on, and I just love where we are. There's, other than so many things to offer, the sense of community, and like you were talking about with just the town government, I'm really impressed with how well we reach out to the community. I mean, you have always come to my radio program on WATD that I do, and you know, the selectmen have always been willing to do that, and the school committee and everybody is willing to do that. And I don't know that a lot of other towns have that sense of, yes, we want you to be part of this and to belong. So Mike Cogburn and that recent committee, you guys always seem so on top of wanting to do better things for the community. So I really do love that part about it too.
Well, we got some projects that we want to talk about. I think that you can build upon some of the events that we have in the town, and I can share with you what the town government's up to.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I love is our town green. Didn't we just re-landscape it or something?
Absolutely.
I know we tried the rink. That didn't go so well, right? But the good news about that was we got to do the lawn over. So the town green right in the center of town, it's just wonderful. I mean, they do a great job with the tree lighting. They do the Easter egg hunt. I love the concerts in the summertime on Sunday, late afternoons. You know, they have those concerts. Just, you know, not the historical, but the arts festival.
That's right, the arts festival in August. That's correct.
Yeah, they do that. They actually do, you know, where they're selling, I forget what they call it, no, the farmers market. They were doing that for a while. So there's always different things going on in the community. You know, the church is doing the fair and the carnival once a year. It always tends to rain when they're in town, but they're always there.
Right.
So those are some of the things that I love community-based. Of course, the parades, you know, just shutting down the center of town. I remember when my girls were in softball, and, you know, the whole town shuts down to watch the kids in the parades and everything. So I love that aspect of it, with everybody coming together. What I really love about it is, even though our schools, we have the 3 separate elementary schools, that all of our kids come together as one. There's always an advantage to doing that, or an opportunity to do that for the kids. So I know that we're working on some projects too. So what are some of the good things going on?
Yeah, and when you're talking about the town green, obviously you're talking about the community center.
Yes.
A structure that was built in 1934, a wing was added in 1952 or something like that. You know, it served as the last Pembroke High School before the current high school in 2004, and it's been a school. And then it was shut down for a long period of time, and then the town decided to open it up as really the basis for the recreation department. And over the years, we've seen an incredible amount of need. It's a building that's almost used 24/7. It's starting to show its age, obviously. We just spent $70,000 at the special town meeting for a new boiler to make sure that we had heat in the building for this winter. So obviously, there's a long-range plan needed to be addressed, and it's been done so at two different occasions. One in 2006, 2007, when the plan was put together to move Town Hall to the community center, move the police station to Town Hall, and then use the police station as possibly administrative buildings for the Pembroke Police, for the public schools system. And then in 2008 or 9, that was put on the shelf because the price tag for that was like $27 million. And so another committee was formed again, and they looked at several alternatives. One was to renovate the existing building. A second was to demolish the existing building and construct a similar sized building. And right now that building is around 35,000 square feet. And the third, which is the 800-pound elephant in the room, was building one that would suit the YMCA out of Brockton. That project, which was around $10 to $15 million, would have been a 50,000 square foot building and a need for like 400 parking spaces. That in itself may have been too large for the site, and it was also too rich for the taxpayers, although it never made it to town meeting. So right now we're looking at the possibility of going to option number 2, which was to demolish the existing building and construct a new building, similar size, similar facade, right behind the existing building. And actually, we would end up expanding the town green because we would end up with, more space there. So basically, that seems to be something that we're going to be steering towards for the spring town meeting to try to get some engineering money, providing everything falls into place.
Is there a committee still going on for that right now? I'm not sure.
Right now, it's a committee of one. It's a town administrator.
Oh, really?
I think
congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we're going to do is dust off some of the reports from the last committee and bring some of the players on board, some of the more technical people, as to present a case as to why option 2 was the best fit. And it was probably in the $8 to $9 million range. It's expensive, but as we all know in town, that there is a need for that building. It is used by the recreation department. It's used by a daycare center. It's used by Pembroke Youth Hockey for their bingo operation, and a lot of smaller organizations are in there. Commission on Disabilities being one of them. So there is a need for a structure, and there's a need for that structure at that location.
When do you think that, what are you projecting that the date of that would start and maybe finish? I mean, what do you think your hopes are for that?
Well, you would think that if we got funding for engineering in this spring, that hopefully that we would spend a 12-month period putting together a game plan that would show exactly how much it would cost and present that to the voters at the town meeting in 2016.
You know what I do remember as I'm sitting here is one time, one of those functions that you put together, remember we did it at the Pembroke Country Club. And I remember that was at the beginning stages when we were talking. Remember you put just a bunch of different people from around the town to do different ideas. What was that task force that you put together?
That was a strategic planning retreat, and it was put on by Suffolk University. And I think a lot of great things came out of that.
That was sort of one of them, wasn't that? That's when the community center started talking about the YMCA and all that.
Yeah, we had 2 versions of that planning retreat. One was for department heads that Wednesday, and then Saturday were citizen folks like yourselves that were there. And a lot of great things came out of that, and we were able to build upon those a little bit. And of course, everything takes money, and we're pretty frugal in Pembroke. We're not cheap, but we also are not as fortunate as some of our coastal neighbors are. But we do a good job. Unfortunately, we have about 25% of our town budget is dependent on state aid, whether it be Chapter 70 money for the schools or local aid, which is the old lottery system. So, we have priorities, and some of the things that we've done, we've kind of push forward. And town's been very supportive of things that we come up with, whether it's cleaning the ponds or doing some of the infrastructure improvements that we've got. So we're pretty fortunate. We put together a good plan. The public is usually receptive.
Yeah. One of the things too is I think that you're making responsible decisions. I don't think that anybody wants us to just spend money frivolously. I think that a lot of time, energy, and effort goes into making sure that the big things that you're doing are really being considered. That's why I loved that task force that you put together that time. Because it was everybody. There were business owners, there were community members, there were at-home moms, but it was great to do that.
And I think we probably need to do that again. I mean, the key to those things, those programs, is that you just don't put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
You wait a couple of years, let some of the things settle out. Some things may have been very excitable, and people go, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. And sometimes logistics and finances kind of put a damper on some of the enthusiasm. But I think it's time to have one of those things again. And making frugal decisions. For instance, the police station. Some of our neighbors have built some real palaces for police stations, and Chief Rick Wall has been very pragmatic about that. And he's looking at that building over there as being useful for a 20, 30-year period if he adds on to the rear of the building. He doesn't need to move to Town Hall.
Yeah.
He thinks that would be a waste of space and a waste of money to the town. So we're looking at the use, at Rick's suggestion of expanding the police station to the rear to allow them to do all the operations that they need to do. And then when you're talking about Town Hall, there's always been the story about going to the third floor.
Yes.
That is a
Where
waste
all
of
the
space.
files are.
Is 10,000 square feet of wasted space. One of the needs in Town Hall is meeting space. We use the Veterans Hall to death, for everything. And in Pembroke, as opposed to some other communities, we use the Town Hall 7 days a week.
Yep.
There'll be meetings in there, whether it's the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts.
Social Roundtable or some Pembroke Roundtable.
Yeah, Pembroke Roundtable. And so they're in that building, at night, on weekends. Youth baseball will have their signups on a Saturday. So
voting.
There's voting. Absolutely. There's 2 precincts that vote there.
Yep.
So we think that going to the third floor would be a wise use of the space that we have in that building right now. So, we're trying to put all that plan together, because you might have folks that come to the spring town meeting and say, well, what about the $27 million project that we spent $60,000 to $80,000 to study? Well, maybe we can do what that study wants. Improving the space at Town Hall, improving the size of the police station, and a new community center, all for X number of dollars. Yeah. And so that seems to be what our plan is going to be for the spring town meeting.
Yeah, I definitely think doing something with the town hall is needed, especially when you talk about the meeting space, because I know that the selectmen recently, a couple weeks ago, they had a big meeting where they were expecting a lot of abutters and townspeople to be coming in and just watching what was going on, which pushed the zoning board into the kitchen. You didn't think I was going to bring it up, did you? Yes. So
a lot of people don't understand that Sharon's a member of our zoning board of appeals, and probably twice a month or once a month at least, we have to partition the Veterans Hall, where selectmen meet on one side and the ZBA meets on the other. And you're right, what happened that one particular evening is that the ZBA ended up holding a pretty important meeting in the kitchen.
With a lot of abutters. So we were literally people were sitting on top of each other there. And two, I just think that for me, it didn't feel that professional, especially when you're making decisions on the zoning board too. It just seemed like, could somebody pass me the sugar? You know what I mean? So it felt a little awkward. So I agree that I think more space is probably needed.
It took me a couple of years to get the selectmen out of their office, especially when we went to 5, to go downstairs to the Veterans Hall. And we made some great adjustments down there, and obviously our thanks to PAC TV for making those adjustments. So, but I think going to the third floor would increase a little bit of office space, but add 2 badly needed meeting rooms, upstairs. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the other things too that I know that are going on in town, and you had recently talked at the Pembroke Chamber at one of the meetings there, and you were talking about different intersections and things like that. So can you just fill me in on what's going on with sidewalks and road repair and intersections?
Well, as the town grows to 20,000, and it's probably the best kept secret on the South Shore that there are 20,000 people in Pembroke. I think the way our zoning's laid out, the old 1950s zoning that allowed small lots in and around all our ponds was phased out in favor, and you know better than anybody, to 40,000 square foot lots, which is slightly less than an acre. So all of the new subdivisions that have been built in the last 20 years are on 40,000 square foot lots, and have had, are in wooded areas, have sidewalks, have curbs, what have you, and are spread throughout the town. So we don't have a dense urban center like you have in a lot of communities. And so when you have a community like Abington or Rockland, things like that, and we're bigger than them population-wise, you wouldn't think that because of the way our business community is structured up there on 139 where your office is, all the way to North River Plaza, and then we have the Pembroke Center Plaza, and then the little plaza down in Bryanville. So basically with that in mind, we have been planning for increasing the infrastructure of the community. It was interesting as part of our Green Communities application, which obviously I'm pleased to be part of the application process, and we received a check for $174,000 from the Green Communities program to do improvements to our energy efficiency of our buildings. That now we're looking at the infrastructure of the community itself and how to best address 20,000 people living in town. We got 2 major street projects that are in the works. One is the Route 14 corridor project, which will go from Route 53 at the intersection of 14 and 53 where the flagpole is, all the way through the center of town and out Matakeesia Street to the fork in the road where you make a left, you go to Matakeesia Ball Fields, make a right, you go to Hanson.
Yeah, McQuan,
McQuan. And of course that fork in the road will be a roundabout or a rotary, as whatever you want to call them. So that'll be an interesting aspect of that project. It will include, curb and sidewalk and a bike path all the way from Route 53, all the way through the center of town, and all the way out Matakeesia Street, to the Matakeesia.
Is that already planned? Is it a definite?
Already planned. It's right now. It's been engineered, and it has to go through a couple of local jurisdictions, mainly the Conservation Commission, because one of the concerns of the Conservation Commission is if you increase the size of the road and you increase the bike path, which is about 5 extra feet, the sidewalk's going to be 5 extra feet. So you're increasing the width of that roadway by 10 to 12 feet. Yeah. You're going to be displacing water somewhere. And so Conservation Commission right now is going through the engineers and with the Mass DOT into how do we get rid of the water and where do we put it into a responsible area, a detention pond or whatever you want to call it. And so that's one of the things we're doing. The game plan is to have bids go out for that project late summer.
Oh, great.
So, because a lot of federal funds are going to be used in this project, and that's one of the things that we have to do. Working with the state is a very slow, deliberate process, and it's been years in the making, but we feel confident now that hopefully we'll be breaking ground, in the spring of 2016. Whatever.
Wow, that would be great. What about the one that everybody always complains about coming out of Pleasant Street in 53? I thought at one time we were getting lights there. Wasn't that part of when the apartments went in up off Oak Street, that was part of their plan? Yeah,
there's a little story behind that. What happened was that as part of the mitigation of having Pembroke Woods 1 go in, that traffic signal would be designed for Pleasant and Route 53. The engineers went ahead and did a full-blown study of that intersection and submitted it to Mass DOT. Well, it's Mass DOT's highway. And if it's their highway, you got to go and do the planning according to their procedures. You know, you go through 25% design, 50% design, 100% design. And they went ahead and gave them a full-blown 100% design plan. And Mass DOT said no. And so that was put on the back burner, and then there was a lot of public outcry over that. You know, several wrecks here and there, one fatality. And so finally, we were able to convince the legislature to earmark about $1 million for construction for the intersection. The town had to pony up their share of the engineering, which is about $150,000. We did that about a year and a half ago. And so now we're at the point where we're past the 25% design, we're into 50% design. We had meetings with Mass DOT regarding the construction of sidewalks. Originally, they wanted sidewalks on both sides of the street. As we all know, the west side of Route 53 is pretty much farmland. Yeah. And nobody would be using it. So we were able to work out a compromise with DOT about running sidewalks from the intersection north towards the Pembroke condominiums and to Water Street. And so they're pleased with that. So now, you know, the ball's rolling again on that, and we're hoping that probably, you know, after we have a series of public hearings on the 25-50% design, that you know, we'll be able to start construction on that, you know, in months.
Yeah. The sidewalks don't really make much sense there. Do you? I mean, I understand that they want them and you have to do that, but where are you walking to and from?
Well, you know, that's Mass DOT's plan for the future. They want bike paths and they want sidewalks. Yeah. And they believe that eventually all of these intersections are going to be connected. So if we're going to provide, if we're going to do work and provide this infrastructure and the state's paying for it, then we're going to do what the state says. And so sidewalks and bike paths are going to be seen at the intersection of 53 and Pleasant Street. They're going to be all the way extending from Route all the way 14 all the way to Mattakeesit. And then, of course, the other project that we haven't talked about, and that's coming up soon, will be the Route 36 corridor project, which goes from the center of town south towards Route 27 and into Halifax. Okay. And that'll be a similar project where we're going to widen the road, we're going to have a 5-foot path for bikes, and then also 5-foot easement for sidewalks on one side of the street. Yeah. And hopefully, somewhere down the road, we're going to be able to connect Route 36 with Hobbamock Street, because we have a $500,000 project engineered for Hobbamock Street to run sidewalks all the way from Learning Lane, all the way down Hobbamock, past the recycling center, past Four Winds Drive, all the way to the intersection of Hobbamock and Route 36. So
that will be good, because then the kids will have the opportunity to ride their bikes to school and to walk. I mean, maybe, you know, we don't see a lot of that in our town just because it's too dangerous. You know, and I know that path that you're talking about on 36, well, when I used to do my running, I would run that way, but I have to tell you, it's dangerous doing that. I was actually on Pembroke Connect recently, and I saw somebody wrote, like, to the woman who was running this morning, just so you know, I really couldn't see you, you know, because if you're wearing dark clothing. But once you get into Halifax, they have beautiful sidewalks and everything too, so that will be nice just to sort of connect right to it.
Yeah, we have problems like that all over town. High Street's a great example of a street that people like to run on.
Yeah.
And we were just successful recently to get a no through truck exclusion passed with the help from the town of Duxbury, because High Street starts in Duxbury as it goes north. We were able to convince the state that the truck traffic and the size of the trucks made it a dangerous situation. And also we have a truck exclusion plan for Mountain Avenue as well.
And we did one on Water Street. I mean, that was done, what, in the last 5 to 8 years?
Yeah, Water Street's been done for a while, but the most recent projects were West Street in the Bryantville area and Mill Street, which connects Route 36 with Hobbamock. So we were able to successfully petition the state to get, you know, truck exclusions for those particular things. But the sidewalk projects, you know, we've been working with, you know, several residents to hopefully get funding for that at future town meetings. Yeah. And I think most recently I was in my hometown in New Jersey, and I was just absolutely amazed at all of the kids that were walking to school. It was really kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
They were leaving my old junior high or middle school, they call them now, and walking down the street, towards their homes and everything. And they were just hundreds and hundreds of kids that were walking in directions, or kids living in the high school area.
Yeah,
so,
getting exercise and getting out there. I mean, as I said, I was in Dorchester. We walked everywhere, and we had all those sidewalks. So I think it's great. I think it's exciting, especially in the center of town. Just as I was talking earlier, the sense of community and everything up there. I was recently at the lights right at the post office, and it was just a really, really nice day out. And I saw, a couple of seniors walking, like crossing the street. They were walking from housing over on Kilcommons. I saw, just the people the landscapers were out. They were like doing leaves and everything, and it was just like this. It was just a really fun, just warming feeling. The post office was busy. You could just see people all over the place, and I think that brings community together.
When you talk about streetlights, it's kind of interesting, or traffic signals. When we were doing the community center, the Green Communities application, we needed to tell the state how many traffic signals we had in town. And nobody could think of how many we had. So Gene Fulmini, who's our DPW director, literally went out throughout town and counted them up. And it was amazing because people that have been there a long time would say, I remember when there was one street light in town. Now there are 19 different traffic signals in town. So, and it shows you how much the town's grown in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Well, there's 3 right in the center of town, and I'm not sure where I'm supposed to stop or start, to be quite honest. So.
Well, I think it had a lot to do with how the traffic configuration was, because the bank didn't want to move.
Oh, yeah.
And so that didn't have a straight in, where it made it an exact intersection, that would go straight through. So you had to have, you had to make a quick right to make a quick left, and that kind of thing. So I think that's what the engineers had to deal with, and they did the best they can on that. But certainly the center of town with the new shopping center looks great.
I think it's great.
And that puts a lot of pressure on the town to do this community center project, because that would just add to, the fact that we have a library that's new. 15 years old now.
But it feels new to me.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that we were talking about before we started taping was Deborah Hall, and how she does such a fabulous job. I mean, when we're talking about the employees of the town, I really think that everyone is really they're so involved, and they really care. I mean, she does such a great job with all the programs that she has for the kids and everything. And Sabrina does a great job of getting out just all the reports of what's going on in town and everything. So I think that that's great.
Well, we still have a lot to talk about, but we're running out of time. So we're looking forward to seeing you folks again. I'm Ed Thorne.
And I'm Sharon McNamara.
And welcome to Pembroke Today.